Hello everyone, welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. So all the 32 teams have completed 2 games each in this year's FIFA World Cup 2022, and so at the end of the completion of 2 matches for each of the teams, we now have 3 teams who have officially qualified into the next stages, that is the round of 16. So Brazil, Portugal and France, the defending champions, have moved officially to the next round. So let's take a recap of what happened in the second matches of each of the 32 teams which they played in this FIFA World Cup 2022 in Qatar. So from Group A, Qatar was taking on Senegal, and yes, the host Qatar gave a tough fight, but eventually Senegal were too tough for Qatar and they defeated Qatar 3 goals to 1 goal. And so with this defeat, Qatar is officially out of this year's FIFA World Cup 2022. And so the second game of Group A was played between Netherlands and Ecuador, and both the teams were really giving a solid fight out there in the field, and eventually both the teams had to settle for a draw 1-1. Now coming to Group B, the second match was played between Iran and Wales, and Wales got a red card in that game, and so Iran played against a 10-man Wales team and they defeated Wales 2 goals to 0 goals. And so the next game for Group B was England taking on the United States of America. Everyone was expecting England to dominate United States of America, but the US footballers, they played really well, and the match surprisingly ended in a draw 0-0. So now coming to Group C, Saudi Arabia. I mean, what a World Cup starting they had. They defeated favorites Argentina in the first game, but then in their second game, they lost to Poland 0-2 goals. I mean, Poland played really well in that game, and Saudi Arabia was nowhere in the picture, and they had to suffer their first defeat of this year's FIFA World Cup 2022. And so on the other hand, Argentina was in a must-win situation because it was the final call for Lionel Messi, and he had to do something for Argentina to keep them alive in this tournament. And yes, Messi had answered them all. Argentina defeated Mexico 2 goals to 0, and Argentina lives for another day in this year's FIFA World Cup 2022. Now coming to Group D. So Tunisia was taking on Australia, and yes, Australia played really well. And I mean, the Australian footballers, they were quite aggressive against Tunisia, and eventually they finished on a winning note, scoring a solitary goal, and so Australia defeated Tunisia 1-0. And on the other hand, Denmark was taking on the defending champions France, and France, they answered everyone in style, scoring 2 goals against Denmark, and eventually Denmark could score only 1 solitary goal. So with this victory, France confirms their berth in the round of 16 in this year's FIFA World Cup 2022. So next, coming to Group E, I mean, the Japanese team, what a dream start they had to this year's FIFA World Cup 2022, defeating favorites Germany in the first game, and so the second game of their campaign, they were playing against Costa Rica, and the Japanese footballers, they gave a really tough fight to Costa Rica, but eventually Costa Rica scored 1 goal, and that gave them 3 points into their kitty. And so on the other hand, Spain, who gave a very big thrashing to Costa Rica in the first game, scoring 7 goals, they were playing against Germany in their second encounter, and I mean it was a really tough fight which was being shown on the football field, and eventually both the teams had to settle for a draw, 1-1. Now coming to Group F, Morocco was taking on Belgium, and everyone was expecting, I mean, it would have been a cakewalk for Belgium against Morocco, but then guys, Morocco played so well, they did not allow Belgium to even score a single goal, and Morocco scored 2 goals in that game, and they got important 3 points in their Group E. And so after that, the next game was played between Croatia, the runners-up of the previous World Cup, against Canada, and Croatia they were like 2 heavyweights for Canada, and they scored 4 goals, whereas Canada just could manage only 1 goal, and eventually Canada are also out of this FIFA World Cup 2022 along with Qatar. So now coming to Group G, Cameroon was taking on Serbia, and we saw an intense battle between these two teams, but goals after goals were scored. Cameroon scored 3 goals, Serbia also scored 3 goals, and eventually they had to settle for a draw, splitting the points. So on the other hand, Brazil was taking on Switzerland, and Brazil eventually got 3 points against Switzerland, winning the game 1-0 and also confirming a berth in the round of 16. And now coming to Group H, that is the final group of this year's FIFA World Cup 2022. Ghana was taking on South Korea, and so at the halftime Ghana were ahead 2-0, but then immediately after the break South Korea came back strongly and they leveled the scores 2-all, but then during the finishing stages Ghana scored 1 more goal, and eventually they came out victorious, 3 goals to 2 goals. And the final game between Portugal and Uruguay, and Cristiano Ronaldo, I mean, I've never seen a footballer playing with so much passion. I mean, for the country, he was playing really well. So Portugal scored 2 goals against Uruguay, and Uruguay really gave a tough fight to Portugal, but eventually Portugal got those 3 important points in their group and eventually confirms their berth in the round of 16. And so with this, we have come to the end of the second games of all the 32 teams who are competing for this FIFA World Cup 2022. And I mean, it was really a tough fight given by all the teams till now. So let's take a look at where all the teams and the countries stand at this point of time after the completion of 2 games each for all the 32 countries. And so now, as all the teams move ahead for their third and the final game of the group stages, and I mean, for some countries it is really a tricky situation. As for Germany, needs to win their last encounter to stay alive in this tournament, or it will be all over for them in this year's FIFA World Cup 2022. And on the other hand, even Argentina cannot afford to lose this game, because that would mean that they will also be knocked out of this tournament. And England definitely needs to come up well, because that draw against USA, that was really unexpected, because everyone was expecting England to seal that round of 16 berth in the second game itself. But USA, I mean, on that day they played really well, and for some of the teams like France, Portugal and Brazil, they will be like doing some dress rehearsals for the round of 16. So I will be bringing all the updates of at the completion of round 3, I mean the third match of all the 32 teams. So stay tuned to my channel, guys, and do not forget to subscribe if you are watching this for the first time. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching.